Well, obviously, we played the Aussie rules. I prefer that. And listen, I'm a small guy. I'm 6'1", 175, and everybody I went against was bigger than me. Everybody, and a lot. Hundreds of pounds bigger than me in some cases. And to say that I think it should be more physical, you look at me and go, that guy's lost his marbles. But I think people pay to see you go out there like gladiators, and they want to see you compete. That doesn't mean you're out fighting, but it could be. You have to want to win more than anything else, and anything short of that's a little bit disappointing.
John Stockton is an all-time great NBA point guard and outspoken advocate, a legendary Utah Jazz player and all-time NBA record holder for assists and steals. He led the Jazz to 2 NBA Final Series and won 2 Olympic gold medals, one with the iconic 1992 Dream Team. He's also a member of the Hall of Fame. Off the court, he's a married father of 6. Stockton blends athletic discipline with skepticism of medical mandates, guiding people towards critical thinking, personal autonomy, and advocacy for individual freedom.
30 years now of researching stuff like that for my own kids and their own purpose really set me up for when COVID hit. I knew they were going to scare us. I knew they were going to try to force it on us. I had no idea how big it could be. I had no idea that it'd be a worldwide poisoning of us and our children. My hand was forced when my beloved Gonzaga, I mean, I grew up sneaking into the gym at Gonzaga when I was 5 years old, never left campus my whole life. My dad grew up on campus, for gosh sakes. My grandfather played there in football in the 20s. I mean, long legacy of there. I mean, I love this place. I refused to wear a mask because I couldn't look across at the students and say,
John, thanks for your time.
good to be here. Thanks, Warren.
Well, it's not very often I have a NBA Hall of Famer, 2-time finalist, 10-time All-Star, 19,000 points, still got 2 records to this day, the most steals and the most assists. Mate, it's been a pretty storied career from an on-court perspective.
A little bit different. I mean, I certainly didn't expect anything to come like this. I stumbled into a great team, great set of coaches and an organization that appreciated the types of things that I guess that I brought to the table, and it was just a marriage that I'm so grateful of. It has set the table for almost everything in my life.
Yeah, well, you touch on that. 19 years from which we now look at the NBA, and as a fan from over here in Australia, I sit there and go, well, who's going to leave in free agency this time? But it's like you didn't even care about free agency. You were drafted to Utah. You stayed at Utah for 19 years, retired at over 40. It's very against the grain to what we see nowadays.
It is, and it's unfortunate. I think that there's beauty in certain parts of the game that take place, and one of it is when you've played together for a while and you start to see nuances both in each other in your games, you know, the meshing of talents and the things that you can learn and get better at as a unit that you simply can't do in 1-year stints, 2-year stints. You can get a taste of it, but you really can't. So it becomes a battle of who can get the most talent on the court for 1 year, and they win. And so I'm not real fond of it. I like the science of getting better and being able to accomplish things with teammates. And that just seems like it's a harder formula today.
Yeah, and as you say, you were drafted, to the Utah originally, and you stayed there, and you built something pretty special, and coming ever so close, losing to the Bulls on 2 occasions. But you had an iconic relationship with Karl Malone in terms of the 1-2 action, but clearly there's a part of the roster. What was special about your group?
Well, Carl, I don't want to just leave Carl. You mentioned him, but he's one of those special players. He's one of the all-time greats, in my opinion. When they talk about the Kareems and the Kobes and the LeBrons and these guys, I include Carl in that. Carl was at a small market. Every play went through him. Every team knew it. Every team scouted him and him alone. And so for him to perform at the level he performed for all those years really made us tick. Now, the rest of us came prepared. We knew our jobs. We learned stuff. I remember when Jeff Hornacek joined our team, we were already a good team, but we had trouble winning on the road. When he came, we won, I think, a record 19 straight games. Forgive me if it's only 14 or something, but we won some incredible number of road games in a row the moment he joined us. And it was just one guy, one moment. And that doesn't happen every day. It's a kind of a testament to what he brings to a team. The Thurl Baileys, the Mark Eatons, I can keep going name after name, and Brian Russell, the guys that contributed to us and gave us a chance to compete at the highest level.
What do you think were the key ingredients to that? Obviously, you had certain people playing certain roles. You talk about leadership. You were a leader. You're well known for your super talent of running things and running the system. What was the most important thing you found in that group?
Wow. Most important, I think, unmentioned so far, coaching staff. Again, recognizing what we had, recognizing the strengths, and then convincing guys that hey, this is how we are going to do it. They didn't want credit for it as coaches. They didn't want to say, "Look how great a coach I am," and they wanted the credit to go to the players. And they challenged us. We had such great competitors. Karl Malone would work out so hard. He's our best player, and he'd get to the gym early in the morning and work out for an hour and a half before practice. It's real tough to complain about your playing time or your effort if you're playing behind that guy, and he's our best player. So he sets a great example. Hopefully, I did my share in that, and Horny did his share in that, and so on. But guys had to buy in and bring their talents to the game every day.
Do you see now, as a comparison to what we see now, like we see LeBron on social media and he supposedly spends $1 million a year on his prep? Well, clearly playing into your 40s, he needed to do that. But you look at the system it's got now, where the game has changed significantly. It's an outside game. It's a less contact game. And for my opinion, just as a casual basketball follower, it doesn't seem the physical side. For me, who grew up playing Aussie rules, full contact sport, it's changed so much. Do you like what you see now?
Well, obviously, we played the Aussie rules, so
Yeah.
I prefer that. And listen, I'm a small guy. I'm 6'1", 175, and everybody I went against was bigger than me. Everybody, and a lot, hundreds of pounds bigger than me in some cases. And so to say that I think it should be more physical, you look at me and go, "That guy's lost his marbles." But listen, I think people pay to see you go out there like gladiators, and they want to see you compete. That doesn't mean you're out fighting, but it could be. I mean, you have to want to win more than anything else, and anything short of that's a little bit disappointing. So yeah, I'm concerned about how lovey-dovey it is. Everybody's more eager to hug each other and give props before and after the game. I mean, it was a little bit nasty in our day, and as a result, there's such respect for each other. When we bump into ex opponents, it's such a delight to see them and see them as grown-ups now where we really appreciate what they brought to the game, and physicality is part of it. I mean, it's an eliminator for sure.
Now, we've seen team owners, billionaires now. Was probably coming into your era at that stage, or, big families who are obviously wealthy, but now it's a billionaire's playground. We now look at TV rights are going crazy, but ratings are struggling. Do you think the ratings are struggling correlates with the process or the product that now people are seeing? Because as you say, maybe we're just old school, but the collision or the contact, the physicality is probably missing.
Yeah, probably part of it. I think there's something distasteful about guys making gazillion dollars and sitting out for a month. What do they call that? Oh gosh, they do it. It's a form of resting guys so that they don't get injured. There's a term for it, but it's eluding me right now. That's hard. I mean, my dad went to work every day in the bar. Every day. If he was sick, he went to work. If he was feeling well, went to work. If he had a bone sticking out of his leg, he went to work. And that was the approach I think that we all should have. Here we are, the finest examples of athletes in the world, and you taking a month off because you have a boo-boo or because there's load management. That's the word. I don't know. That just doesn't sit well. So if there's probably a lot of factors, but those are a couple that stick out in my head.
Yeah, and your mindset clearly, I think the stats said you missed 22 games in 19 years. Some people miss that in a season, as you say, because of load management. What was your mindset in that case?
I remember the first games I missed. I stood there during the national anthem, unable to play, and well, actually, I was in a hospital in Charlotte watching one of them with the flu. But I remember darn near crying. I mean, it's such a gift to be able to play at that level and to go out there, put that uniform on every day, and to look at it less than a gift and to take that lightly. Again, I think is something that I wouldn't be able to take. I missed 4 games in 1 year, and then I had a surgery in another year. I think I missed 18 or so. God, it's almost a tearjerker every time you're sitting there listening to the national anthem and you're not getting to play. I mean, this is what I plan my whole life for, and I'm not missing it for anything. So, and I think you owe it to fans. I mean, I've known fans that have taken their savings, driven for 1,000 miles to come see you play. And if that's the day you happen to sit out for load management, that sends a bad message. So, like I said, my dad went to work every day.
Now, money makes it easy for us. As you say, your dad goes to work every day. Do you think there's too much money or it's too easy for some people? You see guys sign these supermax deals or major rookie extensions, and effectively, I don't know, Ben Simmons, an Aussie, who's been a former number one pick, signed a big deal, obviously got his challenges both mentally and physically. And in terms of, it looks as if he's checked out.
Well, too much, boy. I hate to go there because we made a lot more than the Bob Cousy's and the Bill Russells of the world, to the Jerry Sloans. I mean, these guys took trains, played 6 games in 7 nights. They're smoking cigarettes in between. There's no trainer. There's no good food. There's no anything. And they did it. I mean, they're really beat up. They literally could have a bone sticking out and they're going to play a game. So I wonder what they thought of looking at us. Well, these spoiled guys, they made a ton doing this. And I think there's truth in both. Yeah, it's a little hard to see average players sometimes making a gazillion dollars and then not performing, or then or even a person that may deserve that. I mean, it's the collective bargaining agreement says I think the players get 53% of gross revenues, so they got to give it to somebody. Even if they give it to the great players, that's fine. But sitting out 20 games because you're resting, again, that's where you get the bad taste in your mouth.
Where would you see it like to go? Changes you think you could make instantly would bring it back to what you like more?
I think most of it can be done with officiating, oddly enough. And it's not to say these guys are bad. They're given rules that anytime there's contact to the head, it's just the most terrible thing. I mean, listen, contact to the head happens. I think you can tell, a prudent person can tell a headhunt. Somebody comes across, clotheslines you when you're exposed, but they've made it so delicate that guys don't protect themselves like they used to. You go to the hoop, you're going to get hit, so you protect yourself. Now they go stretching out to give this elaborate dunk or a beautiful play, but they have no balance to protect themselves. And so I think it's duplicating results. One is they don't stay healthy after all because they're not protecting themselves. It's hard to explain why a guy keeps going to the free throw line when it was just contact was incidental. And there's just so much to it. It's but the referees, I think, could change it a ton. The rules that they have, the fact that they're allowed to carry the ball and walk significantly more, gives the advantage to a certain type of player over another player. The fact that it's bully ball, that you can therefore offensively barrel over guys and continually just go to the free throw line with an N1 opportunity with no basketball move to do so, just blunt force trauma. To me, that's unattractive, and it's a thing I could change with refereeing right now.
As you say, the referee comes from the city hall, town hall,
Right.
and makes the decisions, the NBA. We saw in an era, obviously, I think you played through an era where referees were caught out on the take, and it was a really horrible time for basketball in terms of that sort of stuff. Do you think gambling's an issue? Because we're
Yeah.
seeing it in Aussie rules, my sport, that they want to smack a player on the hand for penalising someone to putting on a bet with mates because their friend put on a bet and they're in this group. Yet you're making hundreds of millions of dollars on the take because of people are betting on your sport.
Yeah, I think again, back when I was playing a million years ago, any implication that you might be even gambling with your buddies was a bad thing. And so now we have in collegiate sport, a lot of the sponsors for teams are casinos, gambling institutions. A lot of the revenue going into the NBA players, into that bucket of money, the collective bargaining money, is gambling money, actually gambling money. So do I know how that plays out, how that works and how that can alter games? Not even a little bit. But it seems awful close to the front porch to me.
Yeah. Take you back in terms of you growing up. You were known as super competitive. I did see a vote that you came second behind Dennis Rodman as the most dirtiest player in my mind, thinking professional athlete. I think he's just super competitive. Were you always a super competitive kid growing up, or did you have to learn that way?
Well, I was the little brother, first of all. We weren't wealthy by any sense. We weren't wanting either. I mean, but gosh, my brother was good at everything, and I think just in playing basketball, I probably lost 1,000 straight one-on-one games with him. Usually, when I started getting closer to possibly winning that one game, I'd end up bloodied. I got pushed against the fence or dragged across the ground, or this all outdoor hoops. So yeah, I mean, you having a big brother that's good at stuff and you get to target him for the rest of your life is a heck of an asset. And I think it worked for me. It definitely helps.
Now, obviously, going through your career, and you've had to become the pro, or you're already the pro, but you evolve in that. Um, where does it leave you for post career? Obviously, you get a statue outside. You've got a John Stockton Drive in Salt Lake City. First question: what's the street like? Is it a good, nice, clean street? Do they give you a good one or a little one?
Yeah, it's a nice street. I mean, literally, it goes for miles and miles. They only put the signs up for like 3 or 4 square blocks right by the Delta Center. So there's that street goes one direction, and the Carl Malone Street intersects it going the other way, and it kind of bookends or takes out a corner right where the statues are, both Carl and me. And so, yeah, it was such a neat thing that our owner did. He went through the city or the state, whoever they did it, and wanted to do something special for a couple players that he was pretty fond of, and it was a nice tribute for sure.
Fast forward the last few years, the things have significantly changed. I know have got a Catholic faith. You're a father, I think 6 kids, married with 6 kids. So the challenges come with the family dynamic. But in Australia, when we saw a thing called COVID roll out all around the world, you were someone that didn't sit quiet. Why does John Stockton speak out and say, I'm not quite buying what's going on?
Well, I had significant background. I when I joined the Jazz, I came in contact with a chiropractor there, Craig Bueller, who he still's working AMIT system of being a chiropractor, which is kind of a healer. Make a long story short, he seemed to heal me of everything: hamstring injuries, ankle sprains. I mean, I just could get me back on the court. I was always balanced. Once in the playoff, I had a level 2 back sprain. I couldn't stand up at about 90 degrees. And so he worked on me for hours, and I went in the game absolutely game free without meds, modalities, or anything else. And that's just unheard of. And so over those years, he gained my trust. And one of the things he started saying when I started having kids was, hey, think about not vaccinating your kids. I said, look, buddy, there's no way we're taking that risk. So I was all in for all the vaccines. We vaccinated the first couple of our kids along the schedule. One of our children was sick, gosh, his whole childhood. And it wasn't until the next round of shots that we go, well, it's the shots. I mean, because then he got the shots and everything became really acute suddenly. So we put 2 and 2 together fairly early on. So 30 years I've been tracking vaccines and what their benefits are and what their bad sides are, and felt like I was pretty comfortable with that. And I know how the system works. I know that they scare the crap out of you, let you know that you or your grandma or your children are going to die of this disease or be permanently crippled. For example, polio is a great example. Polio shot, the guy that invented it, Jonas Salk, said that it had little to do with the end of polio in the United States. The end of polio happened when they quit spraying DDT in the streets, in the parks. DDT was, of course, banned years later, but that curve matches. That when they quit using DDT, polio cases stopped. The vaccine was introduced after the polio cases had stopped, and yet we all still, almost to this day, believe that that's saving our kids. So anyway, 30 years now of researching stuff like that for my own kids and their own purpose really set me up for when COVID came. I knew they were going to scare us. I have a lot of other examples of why I was in tune to this, but won't wear you out. I knew they were going to scare us. I knew they were going to try to force it on us. I had no idea how big it could be. I had no idea that it'd be a worldwide poisoning of us and our children. That they would close things down, close our churches, start using more and more disinfectants on desks, masks. I mean, one thing after another. And for me, it culminated. My hand was forced when my beloved Gonzaga. I mean, I grew up sneaking into the gym at Gonzaga when I was 5 years old. Never left campus my whole life. My dad grew up on campus, for gosh sakes. My grandfather played there in football in the 20s. So, I mean, long legacy of there. I mean, I love this place, and I refused to wear a mask because I couldn't look across at the students and say, that's better for you to wear the mask. This is for your health. I couldn't stand up and say, no, take your shots, be a good citizen. And they came hand in hand. I just couldn't. And they took my tickets away. And it really was they did it specifically to me because I was the most visible, and really forced my hand. I wish something had forced it earlier, because I have many friends who have had kids that have been damaged by vaccines over these past 30 years. And had I said something earlier or spoke out sooner, perhaps their kids would be healthier as a result. So I have to wear that one a little bit, but it's not happening anymore. I know the damages, and it forced me to speak of them.
Tired of clunky crypto transactions, frozen accounts, and hidden bank fees? Meet Trustify, the Web3 platform that puts you in control. With Trustify, you can take control of your digital assets, make payments with a debit card, track your cash flow, and more, all on one seamless dashboard. No banks, no unnecessary middlemen, just a smarter way to manage your money with blockchain technology. Plus, join our affiliate program and earn rewards for sharing the future of finance. Sign up today for free using the QR code or link below. Trustify, take back your financial freedom.
What did them coming for you look like? You know, and I ask you, as I've been through it, worked on mainstream media presenting sport, front page of the paper, sacked, called anti-vax when I actually wasn't, but have since probably turned that way. What did it look like for you in terms of the ridicule? Because when it comes hard.
Most of it I missed. And yeah, to your point, anti-vaxxed, I'm so unabashedly anti-vaxxed right now. I'll tell anybody that wants to hear it, sit down and talk with them. If you're not anti-vax, you're not learning stuff. I mean, let's take a look. So that's my view on it. So I'll wear that moniker as long as they want to say it. What was the press like? It was pretty harsh in comment departments, but I don't read those. It was pretty harsh on social media, but I don't have any social media. There was a lot of snippets, people commenting at big levels, but again, I'm not paying attention to any of that stuff. It hurt my family. Kids growing up with more of that, and maybe it's a blessing in disguise there. They're not that interested in being involved in social media as they once were. They can see the evils of that. But anyway, it wasn't too bad to suffer. I had more people. I had a guy come up to me once, pat me on the shoulder, says, "You saved my life." I said, "I what?" I figured he was going to say, "I made a shot in a game against the Clippers and he won $1 million and saved his," But it's not what he said. He said, literally, I was going into the hospital. They were going to start me on remdesivir and start me on the inhalator. And he said, "I heard you just had a few comments about it really early on. And because of that, I said, it's time for another look." And he says, "You literally saved my life." And I was just blown away by that. And that's been more the comments, personal comments, people tapping me on the arm saying, "Thank you. We don't have a voice like you do. And so we're appreciative that you would be willing to do it." So it's been a good ride. It's not easy, but it's good. It's a good ride. It's necessary.
Have you found that friendships and relationships and people you once were good business friends or friends, has it been a cathartic cleaning?
No, well, for a minute, it looked like it was going to be. I mean, I had several friendships that went really south really fast, explosively, angrily. Um, and I said, "Let's talk about it. We've been friends a long time. Let's just talk about it. What are you seeing? Let's talk about what you're so angry about." Those, here we are now 4 years later, are starting to come back. My dad used to say, if that's enough to break up your friendship, you didn't have much to begin with. And I think that's a good lesson. And so these friendships are coming back. Whether they've moved, I certainly haven't. I know I'm staying pretty much steady where I was. Maybe they've moved, or maybe it's just less of a stressful situation at this point in their lives. So, but boy, I think it's starting to come back around. I'm positive about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think even in here, we've just finished in the first week in September when we're recording on the 3rd of September, and just on the weekend there were marches all around Australia for Australian flags. The politicians are trying to say it's racism, it's open borders, it's you people don't want people immigration coming in. Well, in fact, I think it's just Australians standing up saying we want people to actually represent us. When cost of living's through the roof and all that, and I read and I see from a distance exactly what's happening in America. Interesting. You live in Washington State. Washington, from me, who is learning politics and probably learning American politics from a really rapid rate over the last 5 years, after not really caring as a professional sports, someone in media, whatever they do, they're going to do anyway. But you live there. It's effectively living like in Canberra for Australia. It would appear to be the most left-leaning area in America. How tough was it there being a voice for the central or the leaning towards the right?
Well, it still is. In fact, I'm in a current lawsuit with the current sitting governor of Washington State, because they denied doctors their rights of being doctors through the Washington Medical Board because they spoke. Now, it's not what they never were accused of doing anything wrong in their medical offices, but they spoke what they saw to be the positives and negatives of the COVID vaccines, which breaks the narrative. And because that, they lost their licenses, their ability to practice their own art. And so, um, my part in it was, listen, I'm on this side. I want to learn more. I have the right to hear that soapbox speech. If a doctor speaks out, an actual accredited doctor speaks out and says these aren't safe, I want to know what he has to say. They're saying that's not allowed in the state of Washington. We have 700,000 very arguably, or not so arguably, illegal voters. We have reparations bills, which gives people of a certain persuasion 150 grand towards a new home if they've never been a home buyer for free. Taxpayers' money goes to somebody else by virtue of their color. I mean, I grew up my whole life not treating people because of their color, a different way because of their color. And now we're switching that. So Washington State's in the forefront. I know California gets a lot of credit, but I think Washington is the test market. They're going to try everything, not left leaning, but left falling. I mean, they're so left. And then California sees what they can get away with and lets her rip in a big way. So Washington, Oregon, and California are tough, I think, for people like me right now.
But for the state, it is one thing, but for the country, was clear majority more right with Trump. And it appears whether you're a Trump lover or a hater, and a lot of that, I think, has got to do with the media messaging and reporting from a very left media. And the same thing happens here in Australia. But it seems as if you probably got some hope. And I know Australians are looking that way, going, well, hang on, if I am not a left leaner, if I am central to right, and I'm seeing what Trump's doing, and he's trying to put the country first, he's trying to put his people first, there appears to be a turning of the masses and some positivity.
Without a doubt, I'm a big fan of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. For me, that's where my vote was going to go, and he's doing remarkable things. I have just great faith in him as a human being, as a guy that's trying to do the right thing every single time, trying to do exactly the right thing. So even if things bounce a little bit sideways for a minute, I feel like I can trust him to try to do the right thing. And it sounds like President Trump's given him those opportunities to do so. Now, I don't understand the political world. I can't possibly understand it. But I'm hopeful. I mean, we're trying to close the borders, which I don't get why people aren't getting that. If you have a home and you have a happy household, you don't just invite people out of the park to come and live with you and your daughters and your children. You try to take care of them, you try to help them, but you're not inviting them just into your house with no rules or anything. I think our government needs to have a little bit more parenting instincts instead of just, oh my goodness, we should just give everybody everything. It's kind of, I don't know, it's not very comforting.
No, and it looks very lockstep. Victoria, I'm in South Australia, but Victoria is the most locked down place in the world. And if you look at Washington, you look at those left-leaning places, it's almost like, here's the blueprint, go and roll it out. You talk about RFK making America healthier. You talk about Trump. He talks about cutting corruption, but still people have an issue. Do you think that is because they're reluctant to change, or do you think it's effectively their programming, and from what they've always known, they trust the news, they trust what they're told from certain people of authority?
They trust the news, they trust the doctor. I think it's a little bit of both. The messaging is really clear in the States anyway. I think it's really clear. Just to hear the way they comment. I remember when Donald Trump lost the election to Biden, and again, I wasn't rooting for Trump either. So, but I'm watching the postscript, and Donald Trump's about ready to speak, and Donald Trump got in, and he said like 4 or 5 words, and immediately every newscaster on the 3 main stations said, "Did you hear Donald Trump lying about this?" And my wife and I looked at each other and said, "Well, what did he lie about?" He said, "We're going to look into voter fraud. We're going to look into this stuff." I said, if he's suspecting of that, how is it he's lying? I think if they felt that way, it should have been, boy, he made some interesting statements. We should really look into if there's any truth to it. But they didn't. They just said he's dead lying. I went, well, they don't have that proof on the table right now. So I started to learn that what's coming across in the media isn't always accurate or healthy. And clearly we see it now. I mean, in 2025, we're still getting advertisements that COVID-19 shots are healthy and that pregnant mothers should even take these shots. I mean, the Pfizer report said 80% of the women that took the shot at pregnant lost their babies. It's more effective than the abortion pill. And they're still suggesting this, and it's still getting media time. It's totally offensive and criminal, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then I agree exactly with those thoughts, because in Australia here, whilst the Australia's governing body, the TGA, which is there to approve, effectively your CDC equivalent in America, they actually redacted. They've said for years that safe for pregnant women, they're safe for young kids, and now they've changed it even to a stage that if you're immunocompromised, we still suggest you get the vaccine. But they quickly pulled from market their approval for pregnant women and children, even though it's been out there for years, and effectively America has led the way for a long period of time saying it's not safe and pulled that back. So it does say that it's not really about health, it's about politics. The interesting thing too is informed consent. Then clearly that's the biggest breach of everything. That's the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about, because clearly that's a breach.
Yeah, informed consent. You're supposed to have a written document that tells you all the risks of every medicine a doctor gives you, particularly a vaccine, particularly an emergency authorized vaccine. I mean, there's so much that goes into that emergency authorization. So you cannot coerce, you cannot suggest. I mean, this is all in the Nuremberg Code because of Nazi Germany back in the day. Every country in the world agreed to these rules. Informed consent is that you have to know all the risks and you have to give clear approval. I read a book in the nurses training book just a couple days ago, where the nurses were told if a parent showed signs of reluctance for future shots, you can give that baby all the shots right there in the hospital before they leave after birth. I mean, that's just disregarding everything that should be legal. We can't experiment with human beings in this country, and sure shouldn't be able to in yours, and yet they continue to do so to this day.
Yeah. Yeah, you talk about your lawsuit. Obviously, the one was with Robert F. Kennedy against the Washington State, and you're saying that's ongoing. The people that argue against it, and I have to give the opposite discussion on this because I think that's only fair and reasonable when you're doing media, is that it was dismissed through procedural grounds. Where does that sit, and what was the motive for getting involved? Clearly, you revealed some of it, but do you think there's ever going to be a win in the court system? Because, let's face it, politicians approve judges, approve vaccines effectively from their laws. So they're effectively, we're asking them in a court, and someone who didn't have I had a wrongful dismissal with my employer, the Nine Network, and wasn't successful in that. The ruling on the grounds were minute in terms of the major issues in it. Do you think you'll ever see a day of actual justice and where the courts are free to judge appropriately?
I'm hoping so. I think it has to come at a higher level. For example, we haven't had a regime change in Washington State for, is it 44 years? So we've had a Democratic governor, Democratic. So, you call it right or left. Listen, I probably voted for him. I've never been a Republican or never been a Democrat. One of the guys went to grade school with that I voted for all these years, find out he's one of the biggest opponents to all the things that I'm suggesting. So, but we haven't had a regime change in Washington State for over 40 years. So every judge that's been appointed, every, area judge that's been appointed is going to be left-leaning, going to see this whole type of case wrong. So we clearly lost there right from the get-go. We went to the appeals court. That's where it stands right now. Our attorney tried to fast-track it and get the Supreme Court of the United States to take the case. One judge turned it down without consideration, didn't share it with the others. Another one of the Supreme Court justices said, no, I think there might be merit to this. If he could have gotten 3 other justices to listen in, they would have bypassed the appeals court. Didn't happen. They didn't take on the case. So we're back in that 9th District appeals court. It's just part of the process. We're hoping for where 3 judges have to agree on that as well. And if not, it goes to the Supremes afterwards if they'll take it. But it's a big deal. It's freedom of speech, which our country was founded on. So it's a really big deal.
Yeah, and that's where you've got something that certainly protects you with your Second Amendment, your freedom of speech. You've got something to hang your hat on, so to speak. Whereas Australia, we have a constitution, but it's sort of a bit wishy-washy with how it's actually enforced. Whereas Americans go to war on these things, not quite literally, but in terms of they hang their hat on, like very much like the gun situation, you know what your rights are and you stand behind them. And that's why the rest of the world is watching to see what happens over in America.
I think we are the last bastion, so to speak. I mean, the guns make a big difference. I've never been a gun guy, but they make a big difference. You just can't run roughshod over people that are armed, and they're doing everything every year they can to disarm citizens. And our forefathers, gosh, these guys that went through it after the Revolutionary War, they're brilliant men, and they put together quite a package and quite a constitution. The amendments, these were really big deals, and they're just kind of chipping away at that, and we can't allow that to happen on our watch. That's where I think the importance of our present day people. We just can't let their work go for nothing.
Was that your simple decision? It's not on my watch? Because I get from someone in your stature to stand strong against the system. We even see Steph Curry, we see Steve Kerr, who are legends in their careers, be very opposite thinking, and very mainstream, very organisation. Even the big sporting organisations are pretty well in lockstep when you get funding from the government. I get that. But did you ever have a moment where you go, am I willing to die on this hill, or was it just what I was built for?
Yeah, I have a lot of moments, probably still do, but I don't see any way around it. I mean, first of all, the shots which we've covered earlier on, they're just wrong. They're harmful. They're not helpful. They know, and they knew it. The Pfizer thing they tried to bury for 75 years, the Pfizer report, they knew all this stuff. It's not me giving them data saying, look, your things are bad. It's them themselves saying, here's what we found. It's all bad. It neuters boys in utero when you give it to mothers. So boys won't be able to produce the things that give them masculinity when they get older. I mean, it's so awful. It kills babies, ruins mothers' ability to have children. I mean, it's such bad stuff. So you have that. Then your grandchildren go to school and they wear a mask and they have all this disinfectant on their desks and they come back sick from this. They've got, rashes on their face. And they're at no risk. They're at zero risk. Children, they knew that from the get-go. Children, zero risk. And yet they go ahead and do it. And I'm sitting here watching and go, who's going to stick up for these kids? They don't, even the college kids, they don't know any better. They're busy being college kids. So if you do know better, this is me talking for myself, you cannot stay silent. Then if they start taking away your freedom of speech, you don't have a democracy anymore. So you've got to fight for these things or they don't get to enjoy what we've enjoyed without thought for 60 years. My
Yeah.
case.
Yeah. In terms of faith, I read your Catholic upbringing. Did you question the church's roles in all this at the time? Because, I went to a Catholic school and, my kids go to a Catholic school and it was almost like they got swept up it quite comfortably too. And that's not just Catholic. It was every religion that I can see.
Yeah, I agree. Every religion, but I can't worry about every religion. I can only worry about the one I'm participating
Yeah.
in. They ignored everything. So they first of all, they ignored your own human rights to be able to choose what goes into your own body. We should all be allowed that. They closed the churches, which when I saw that, I said, boy, there's something big afoot here because churches should be anti that. If the government's saying we should do this, the church should be doors open. Everybody that needs come in. We got you. That's what I think their role should be. Those doors closed. Okay, well, what's going on? Now we're not supposed to have conversations. We're not supposed to have community meetings 6 feet away. Not sounding right. This isn't sounding right. Why are they pushing the vaccine when there's aborted fetal tissue, which is, anathema to Catholicism? Aborted fetal tissue is off the list. There's those in the shots. What else? The Pope himself said you have a moral obligation to take this poison into your body because they say so. And then the Vatican, of course, had the coin. They made a coin, a vaccination coin. So yeah, I'm very distressed about the church. I've not wavered on what my belief system is that I grew up with and with the church, but boy, the leadership of the church, they're way off base. And I'm not afraid to say that either. They've got to pull it together. We need them.
You touched on and used the word before, masculinity. It's something that's really lacking from what I can see. And if you agree, how do you get that back?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, Anytime you introduce toxins into the body, your body, I mean, we're bodies that evolve, and we've evolved generation to generation. If all of a sudden all we have is green leafy vegetables, then we're going to evolve somehow. I can't tell you how, but we're all going to evolve into something that can accommodate in future generations. The oh gosh, I lost my train of thought there, Warren. What was the question again?
No, it was just along masculinity and how do we get that back? And you're saying effectively saying you're a product of what you consume.
Thank you. Yeah. So before you leave the hospital in the United States, you get 3 shots. You get 3 vaccines, 3 chemicals, which include often aluminum, often formaldehyde, often mercury, which is toxic to everybody in the world. Anytime mercury and aluminum are mixed together, the rat dies. I mean, these are very serious chemicals we're injecting into our babies because we know better than the good Lord. We're going to fix these babies coming out of the hospital. They also offer vitamin K, or they won't treat you. Your pediatrician won't treat you unless you have vitamin K shot, which only has 2% vitamin K in it. The rest are chemicals. So we start each child off in the United States, unless you have the gumption and the knowledge to step out of that. We're starting them off with a high chemical influx. Then we give it to them again at 4, then at 9, then so on, to up to 72 vaccines, not counting repetitious ones. I mean, I've heard over 80 now that we have on the childhood schedule. We're poisoning these kids. So what effect is that having on our masculinity, our reproductiveness, period? They don't know. They can say it doesn't impact it, but they're testing these vaccines for a month at the most. Mostly it's a 3-day test. So to suggest that it's not going to impact you 20 years down the line, or your children or your grandchildren, is foolish talk, and it's irresponsible, frankly.
And for anyone listening, you're quickly aware that you've done your homework, you are well researched, and that often pulls apart the argument against very, very quickly. And for a lot of parents, go along blindly because that's what's always happened. On the other side, they see it, but they don't have the courage to step out of it and to question whether it is a vaccine or a certain, meat but not meat, alcohol. You're caught in, and people use the word the matrix, the system of time poor, never been more unaffordable, should I say, from housing, having to have 2 parents in working. It is a system that's difficult to step out of. What's your advice to people doing that, young families, parents who are just caught in the grind and sort of seeing what's happening and it's not adding up, but aren't quite willing to take that step?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, because one of the luxuries I had at the stage of the game that I jumped into this was I was retired. Right. The big money making opportunities had come and gone, and it was fairly easy. These people that, including the Steph Currys of the world, that are making their money now, it'd be hard to step out and really look that gift horse in the mouth and say, I'm not going to bite that hand that feeds me. So I at least get that. Lesser visible people are more worried about, can they work this week? Can their kids get into the school this week? And it comes on you. You need a physical to play sports, oftentimes in the States here. So you go to the physical, they say, well, are your vaccines updated? Well, no. Oh, end of subject. You're either vaccinated or you're out. Wait a minute. What do you mean I'm either vaccinated or out? Can I opt out? There's 3 exemptions in the United States, which if you want to get into exemptions, it's a whole other topic, but there's medical, there's philosophical, which is personal, and there's religious. They since the MMR shot recently, my daughter was in school, I could tell you a whole story. They just eliminated the personal philosophical objection to that particular shot, even though they acknowledged in the newspaper it doesn't work to stop the measles, mumps, or rubella. But they're going to eliminate the exemption, so you still have to get it no matter what. So then they got medical. Medical people are losing their license all over Washington State if they don't, if they write a pass to somebody saying, well, you have a medical exemption, not allowed. So that one's out. And then they're chipping away at religious. Now you've got to get like a cleric to tell you whether your religious beliefs are for real. One of Coach Rolovich, he's the Washington State University football coach, big job, Pac-10 football. He loses his job just for that reason. Religious man, a faithful man, said he had religious beliefs that won't allow him to take the shot. He lost his job and his court case is pending. So, saying we're rare times.
Um, it appears though there's cracks in the wall for people who see this. What hope do you see?
Well, back to your original question a minute ago, you said, what do young people do? I say you lock arms and say, we're not doing it. You know, you go to school with 40 people locked in arms, say, we're not vaccinating and you are taking these kids. You start getting the airports. When the airports started saying, we're not, unless you've got your tests or your vaccines or whatever, you're not flying. I say, well, fine. Let's get 100,000 people. Let's lock out arms outside of every airport in the United States and see how long that one lasts. Um, so you have power. Individuals, we have power by being in that community that they tried to ban from us. You know, the no community, no church, no anything. You have great strength in the community. So find like-minded people, stick by your guns, make them kick you out versus saying, well, I'm just not coming because I'm not vaccinated. See what I'm saying? Instead of self-censoring, instead of shutting up, instead of not going, show up at practice, show up at work, show up at school, make them bodily throw you out of there. And then there is a lawsuit. I'd like to see them defend that one in court now, why your child got taken out of school for not taking a shot that harms you.
Yeah, and fundamentally it probably comes back to one thing, doesn't it, this whole thing? It's not about health, it's about money.
Oh, yeah. I can't track that one, but yeah, no question.
Yeah, and when I say about money, it's not just, hey, big pharma makes money, but I'd assume that X amount of dollars paying for X amount of $1 billion vaccines, creating that system that pulls on people's heartstrings, whether it's I want to go to the footy, I want to go to basketball, I want to go to dance, I want to go those things. It was a well-orchestrated system. But fundamentally, as I said, it just comes back to a dollar and it comes back to greed. Is that fair, do you think?
Well, Robert Kennedy said that they made each vaccine manufacturer made $60 billion on the COVID-19 vaccines, and they'll make $550 billion a year on diseases that those vaccines caused. So absolutely. Why do universities support this program? Because they're given money by the NIAID, that's Fauci's group. He has $7.6 billion to dole out every year as he sees fit for research, but they never research harm. Furthermore, the schools, if they get a $50 million grant, they can use about 20 to 25 million of it, put it in their pocket, use it for whatever they want. The rest has to be done on research. And if they get a viable product out of their research, they get money back, royalties from that. I mean, that's a broken system. There's so many conflicts of interest, and yet that's why universities aren't balking. That's why universities are selling this nonsense. But yeah, it's always about money.
It's funny because in our Senate, we've got a few warrior senators who have taken up the good fight for the independence for the people. So not either the Liberal or the Labor Party. And that was revealed publicly in Australia that Australian's medical system and the government never actually did any testing. They just took the Americans' version. So what you're saying is what Australians have expected. Yeah, it hadn't been tested on certain things. It didn't have the safety data, and it was all been organised that way. As an athlete, people talk about your legacy on the court, 19,000 points, 10-time All-Star, Hall of Famer. Do you think whilst that was great and that was amazing, that was part of the role to put you are where you are now and showing real legacy and leadership?
Yeah, maybe without sounding, too foofy about the whole deal. I always felt that there was a bigger calling, I guess, bigger duty than just bounce the ball. I didn't want to be famous. Never kind of always shied away from that a little bit, but then suddenly here I am and I continue to be, and that can't be for no reason. So I wondered if there was going to be something that came up in my life where I would be needed to use that. And certainly this could be it. I've certainly accepted that it's been good use of it, whatever notoriety I have had or people think highly or poorly of me. If they'll listen because of that, then this is a great place to do it. Because I haven't seen a more evil attack on humanity. I mean, we talked about Hitler and Stalin. I mean, the numbers of this COVID shot and the damage done will stagger those numbers in terms of overall carnage, death, damage, future damage. It's a bad deal.
Do you have a feeling or an idea on why this happened?
Yeah, I mean, we could all sit here and go, well, it's that guy, and it's those guys, and it's those guys. Like when I played out, that's easy to do with teammates too, and referees. It's always referees' fault, whatever. But you could also look in the mirror and say, well, God, if I didn't miss a shot tonight, we won. We would have won anyway. For all that stuff being considered, if I would have played perfectly, we still win. So I think all of us are in that category. Every last one of us. If I would have stood up and not gone to school, not taken my kid to school, if I would have stood up at the airport, we wouldn't be here right now. And I think that's a truth that I can live with, is that everybody does have power, and got to try not to self-censor and try to find a little courage, if not for yourself, for your kids and grandkids, and act upon it.
John, you're doing some great work with the ultimateassist.com. Is that where people can find you if they resonate with what you're saying?
Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm not really into the social media thing, but the ultimateassist.com is. We're seeking listeners. We want to share the word, get as many people to hear these brilliant voices. I'm not talking about mine. Ken Rutgers is a former Green Bay Packer offensive lineman and Hall of Famer. That we do this together, and we're just trying to get people to hear all these great stories from, frankly, around the world. And we're just doing our part. So yeah, please tune in, theultimateassist.com.
Well, John, it's been nearly 50 minutes of us chatting. We could chat forever, but you've baffled me. Your strength. I do appreciate the role you've played. Keep being a warrior. You're on that on the court, and you're certainly on that off the court now.
Well, thank you. I feel a brotherhood with all you guys down there in Australia. We throughout the COVID thing, one of our best connections, we did a thing called what's now called the Ultimate Assist. It was called Voices for Medical Freedom, and we met a bunch of the Australian guys and saw that they're pulling kids out of their homes to vaccinate them down there. And again, if United States is what everybody's looking at, and we can see that with our brothers down in Australia, and we don't do anything, what is wrong with us? What are we here for? So anyway, I keep up the strength down there, keep battling, and thanks for having me on your show. It means a lot.
Mate, appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for tuning in to The Ballsy Show. We appreciate your support. Please like, subscribe, and share this episode to keep the vibes going. Before we wrap up, a shout out to Trustify, the game-changing Web3 app that lets you seamlessly manage your crypto, send funds, and spend on the card, all without banks or middlemen. Sign up for free today using our QR code or the link below to take control of your financial future. Stay tuned, the next Ballsy Show episode is about to drop.